World Cup final, which is tomorrow night, and joining me, as he has over the last couple of weeks with staff, is Jeetan Patel. Jeetan, welcome to the studio. Before we talk about the World Cup final, though, we should mention the New Zealand team, and what a great effort from them, particularly that win over South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I think we spoke about it with staff about how they were always one win away from becoming the team they want to be, and I think that they got that win against South Africa. It was disappointing against Sri Lanka, but we all know that Sri Lanka's a great side, and at home on a used wicket is pretty tough to beat. So, I mean, I was happy for the guys. I think they got to the semi-final where they wanted to go, and they knew that it was only two one-off games, that if they got through them, they'd had the World Cup in their hands, and I think the guys stood up and did what they needed to do.
Yeah, I guess the good thing about it was there were no great expectations on the Black Caps, really, were there? After what we'd been through over the last 6 months or so, there was no real expectation they were going to get as far as they did.
Yeah, they copped a lot, not just from the media, but also they started to cop it from, you know, Joe Punter on the street, which isn't good fun. And I spoke to a few of the guys, and they were pretty down about how New Zealand felt about New Zealand cricket, but this has turned it around a little bit. I think to get to the semi-final, but to beat South Africa the way they did, and with a little bit of nitty-gritty, was you know what Kiwis are made of.
All right, now you've said all along Sri Lanka is the team to beat at this tournament, and here we are at the final. They're still there, but they're outsiders against India. Yeah,
they're always going to be outsiders against India. India are at home in Mumbai with, you know, probably 70,000 Indians cheering away. But when I think about it, I think that Sri Lanka are a good chance because it is a final, and their big guns like to step up in big games.
Let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of these two teams. It's been said right through this tournament that India don't bowl particularly well, but here they are in the final anyway. And if you knock off the top four in the Sri Lankan batting order, there's not much after that. But they're there as well, so you know you can hardly argue.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see what they go in with Sri Lanka, with Angelo Matthews being a little bit injury prone and Murali sore. He's had 4 injuries during this World Cup already, but they do say that their bowling attack isn't strong, the Indian bowling attack, but somehow MS Dhoni's found a way, and I think that's what good teams do, is they find a way.
We've been trawling through those odds, and it's pretty close, you know, around $1.70, $2. Not a great deal in it, which means the bookies are sort of struggling to work it out. Let's have a look at the number of sixes that might be hit. Who are the big hitters in this?
Well, you've got Sangakkara and Jay Warner are always good strikers of the ball, but I think Yuvraj, Dhoni, Tendulkar, Sehwag, you know, there's 4 guys there in themselves that could probably hit 30 in a game if they wanted to. But yeah, I think it's going to come down to who bowls best and not so much who hits the most sixes.
We had a bloke come in during the week, not on this game but on another game, who actually ventured 10 grand on the team hitting the same number of sixes in the match. Can you believe that anybody would risk that sort of money on that sort of option?
Well, I think he must have made 10 grand on another bet to be able to do it, because I don't know if you're going to risk 10 grand to do that, to bet on sixes. But hey, I mean, there's obviously plenty of guys out there that know a lot more about the sport than I do, and want to punt on six hitting.
All right, let's have a look at the individual players in this game and who might potentially be the high bat. Now, Sachin Tendulkar is the absolute star batsman for India. If he fails, they're in a bit of strife, but you can still get some pretty good value on him being the high bat for India.
Yeah, well, it's you know, World Cup final. This is his dream, to play in a World Cup final. To score 100 for him would be massive. But I like the odds of Yuvraj Singh at 7. He's scored a lot of runs for them lately. And if they do get knocked off early, you know, they lose 3 early, you've got to rely on Virat Kohli, Yuvraj Singh, and MS Dhoni to get you over the line, and possibly Suresh Raina. So I'd tend to go with Yuvraj Singh, but Sehwag and Tendulkar are the ones you could see getting a lot of runs for them.
Now, this is harder. This is much harder because these guys, particularly the top 4, have all made major contributions, and you can see there that, Sangakkara is a class act, but the other blokes, Dilshan Taranga and Jay Warner, boy, it's hard to pick between them.
It is hard to pick between them, but I'd like to lob in Sam Warera. He hasn't scored runs so far in the tournament, but he's a big game player. Whether it's test matches or ODIs, he likes to score runs in big games and get Sri Lanka over the line, so I think he's a big chance also.
All right, so those are the individual teams there. What about the highest individual in the game? We also have an option of somebody making 100 or not, but let's just have a look at the highest individual scores in the match and see what sort of odds we have available. And these are the options you have. $2.10 for somebody to go 100 or more. Do you think there's a century in the final?
Definitely think so. I think as much as I said it's about the bowling, I think there's 22 guys that want to score 100 to win the World Cup for their country, and I think one of them is going to do it, whether it be Samuel Wera at 6 or Tendulkar at 1. I think it's going to be someone will step up and score 100. I'm not saying that team will win, but I'm just saying that I reckon someone will score 100.
Okay, this is Tendulkar broken down individually. Well, $12 to get a 0. It seems a little unlikely, doesn't it? Just have a look at the favoured way here, and at $2, 41 or more. What do you think?
Well, he does average 45 in one-day cricket, so it might be even more. But so you suggest that the law of averages would suggest you get 41 plus. But Tendulkar's a class act, and the way he batted in the last game, even though he got given a few chances, he still really wanted to win a game for India. And I think that's what it comes down to. Whoever wants to win the most will win, and 22 guys will be pushing as hard as they can.
Another key guy for them, obviously, is Sehwag. We do have some individual stuff for him as well. And, what have we got here? He's more likely to get a duck, but not much. But he's a bit hit or miss, isn't he? I mean, with Tendulkar, you know that he'll probably bat for 30 overs. If Sehwag was to bat for 30 overs, he's got 100 anyway, hasn't he? Well,
yeah, he's got 100 easily. But he's a class act and a great batter. And I think on a very good wicket like the one that will be in Mumbai, he's every chance of scoring runs. It's just whether he gets too carried away too quickly and tries to hit the spinners too far out of the attack.
Here's a head-to-head between those two key batsmen. Who will get the highest score? And we've got Tendulkar at $1.75 and Sehwag at $2. You'd probably go Tendulkar there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would, just because he's the guy that's going to bat time. He's going to bat the whole innings if he can, 50 overs, knock up 130, 140. But, with Sehwag, he could bat 20 overs and be on 130. So I think Sehwag's the sort of guy that's too aggressive against spinners that are very, very wily and very crafty.
Okay, so we looked at the key Indian batsman. Let's have a look at the key Sri Lankan batsman now. And here we are, Tilakaratne Dilshan and Kumar Sangakkara. And these guys are key players. If you nailed this right and got it into a multi, you're getting some good value.
Yeah, you're getting some really good value. But with Dilshan batting at the top of the order, I think he's a Sehwag-like. He'll look to dominate the attack. When he gets in that middle period, he can get you a little bit carried away. With Sangakkara, it's very, very relaxed in the way he plays his cricket, and he scores at a tempo that is so easy. And I just think that he's an amazing batter, and he's their Tendulkar.
Now, one of the great imponderables of this game, of course, is Murali. He looks like he's operating about 70%, but that seems to be good enough.
Yeah, I think he's been operating at 70% so they can get to the final and then he'll go at 100. I know he's had a side strain, a knee problem, a shoulder injury, and now a hamstring problem, but I think he's every chance of playing at 100% and doing what he does best for Sri Lanka.
Now, this option here, the toss special, as we call it, the toss winner wins the match, the toss winner loses the match. Teams tend to want to bat first, don't they, in the subcontinent?
They will bat first. I think either team will bat first just to take advantage of the slower nature of the wicket later in the game, but also the dew factor, that comes in and it makes it harder to see at times at night in India, but also harder to bowl. So they may toss up what they're going to do there, but I would have said either team would win the toss and bat.
Okay, this next option, obviously some players won't be able to improve. Well, on this list they will. Top tournament run scorer. Now, Tendulkar is pretty warm favourite here, and then we've got Dilshan. So those guys are obviously fairly close together, and it might well be determined, well, it will be determined by what happens in the final. Yeah,
so he's coming from 6 and Dilshan in from 20 to 235, but again, they're the only guys that can obviously achieve this and being in the final, but anyone could get it. Like I said, there's 5 guys in each team that could get 100 and that'll be enough to get them over the line.
Okay, just to sum it up then, you're happy to stay with what now is the outsider in the final?
I am Indian, and my dad will hate me for this, but I'm going to go for Sri Lanka because I have done the whole way.
Thanks, Jeetan. There we are. There's Jeetan Patel's thoughts on the World Cup final. Starts at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, and there will be live betting available on the game.